What's going on, guys, and thanks for listening to Bet Against Me. My name is Jaxon, and like always, I'll have my longtime friend and sports analytics enthusiast Christian with me. For myself, I'm a law student at Tennessee, by way of introduction, so beware of my SEC bias. I'm also a small YouTuber that specializes in gaming content, so feel free to check out my channel on YouTube by searching Jaxon Builds. But most importantly for this show, I have the worst 50-50 luck in the world. It's pretty much a joke in my life. I can't complain about my overall life. My overall luck of the draw has been pretty swell. I got to be a decently smart person. I got to have a girlfriend, a car, a place to live, food to eat. But my 50-50 luck is terrible. And I almost never get a coin flip correct. I'm often on the wrong side of bets that are very close and very tragic. Often when Scott Van Pelt does his bad beats section on SportsCenter late at night, I've been on that several times lately. So that's why we've chosen to name this podcast Bet Against Me, because I'm almost positive that if you bet the opposite of everything I say, you're going to make some money. So that's how the show's going to work. In the next 45 minutes, Christian and I are going to have discussions about the best betting lines and the best games of the next few days. And then at the end, we're going to pick some lines, some over-unders, some parlays that we like. And on the next show, we'll begin by checking up on how much money we lost from the last show and how much money you could have won by betting the opposite of me. That's our basic premise, so let's not waste any more time and get right to it. College basketball is in the swing. We've got the NBA off for the next couple of weeks, but we'll get some NBA All-Star picks later on. Golf is the Genesis Open this week, and we are a round and a half through that, as the second round was rain delayed, I believe, today. But we are going to start in college basketball. So the first thing we want to talk about is Virginia at North Carolina at 8:15 tomorrow, the East Coast nightcap. Virginia is 18-7 on the season. North Carolina 22-5. North Carolina is a little bit better against the spread. North Carolina 15-8 against the spread, and 4-0 as the underdog. North Carolina is just 13-12 as the favorite. So, Christian, what do we think about this game? North Carolina minus 3.5 over under 135.5. What do you think about the actual game?
Well, Virginia has an opportunity here to really prove something as they're coming off a home loss to Duke on Wednesday, and also 2-3 in their last 5, so they really need to prove something. North Carolina still looking like the North Carolina that everybody had intended for them to be, coming in with a 24-point win against North Carolina State on Wednesday, but they also had a pretty bad loss the week before at Duke. So I think this is a good test for both of them, and I think it's going to be a really good game, a really close game all the way down to the very end.
A real battle of styles. North Carolina averaging 87 points a game, Virginia averaging 68, only allowing 55. It's a real pace difference between the North Carolina team that wants to run, the Virginia team that would much rather sit in the base defense in the half-court sets.
Right, and the thing about that is North Carolina's average adjusted tempo is 71 possessions a game, which is good for 45th in all of the NCAA.
I would imagine Virginia's is much lower than that.
59, which is down near the bottom, 350th out of 351.
Don't you kind of feel like whoever wins this game will be the team that imposes their style more? I kind of feel like if you look at the over-under at 135, if it's under, I'm probably taking Virginia. If it's over, I'm probably taking North Carolina.
Well, I think that with this game itself, if you look at past years between Virginia teams coached by Tony Bennett and North Carolina teams coached by Roy Williams in the last 2 years, they've always had really, really good battles. Last year especially, Virginia was able to get the win in the regular season at home, and in the ACC tournament on a neutral court, they lost. But it was evident that good games. It's always going to be close games. The year before that, in the regular season, Virginia won a close contested battle, and then in the ACC tournament, they lose. So I think that it's definitely a style thing, but I think that it's really about who has the upper hand, who really is the team that's going to take control at the very end and like you said, impose their style.
My question is that can North Carolina win a game at this pace?
At this pace, I mean, I would say that they definitely have the team to do it. I mean, I think this is a really talented team overall. Justin Jaxon, a great player. Joel Berry, Kennedy Meeks, a great. I'm just real quality players, real juniors and filled with juniors and seniors that really know how to react in situations like this, where you go in, you just aren't expecting such a style, or you have to adjust on the fly. And I think they really have the team to do it and come out with a win.
Defense travels well. Offense, not so much. Virginia, I think that's why the line is only 3.5. What they held Duke to what, like 19 points in the first half the other night? That's insane. But defense travels well. I think that's why the line is only 3.5. I think this game is actually probably, I feel like if this is neutral court, it's probably a 6 or 7 point. It's a 6 or 7 point game. I don't think North Carolina is maybe getting the benefit of being at home as much because Virginia is such a defensive team on the line, at least. I like the under barely. And I probably like North Carolina, though, which, even though that kind of contradicts what I just said a minute ago, but I think that North Carolina proves that they can win a close defensive battle, and that it's not maybe as close as Vegas thinks it's going to be. I think the home court goes a long way for North Carolina.
Right, and then that's the big thing for North Carolina. I think the home court really will come to at least benefit them in some way down the stretch for them. I like North Carolina in the game. I think it's going to be a close game, but in this case, I think I'd take Virginia in the over. I think it'll be as close as any game that Virginia and North Carolina has seen for the past years. I think this will follow along the trend of that.
So we're both going against the logic. I'm taking North Carolina and the under, which most people would say if you're going to take the under, you got to take Virginia, and you're taking Virginia and the over. Virginia proves everything the opposite I just said. They prove that they can go on the road, win a high-scoring game against another quality opponent in conference. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Well, one of us is going to be right. Maybe. We'll probably both be wrong. It'll probably be Virginia in the under, North Carolina in the over. Who knows? So the next game, Kansas at Baylor. Kansas 23-3, playing their Big 12 foe at 22-4. Both are 13-11 against the spread. Baylor actually is only 9-9 as the favorite. Kansas 2-1 is the underdog against this spread. Kansas obviously just had a monumental comeback against West Virginia, and Baylor just lost to Texas Tech at Texas Tech. So what do you see about this one, Christian? We've got Baylor the favorite, minus a 1.5, over under 143.5.
Well, I have another intriguing game, another good matchup. Should show a lot from both teams. I mean, we were just having this discussion, or I told you not too long ago how I feel about the top of the Big 12. I mean, I'm really unsure about who to think are the teams that I really enjoy to watch, or really know who the top elite teams are. I think Baylor is a great team, and I think they really do have a good quality team. They showed a lot at the beginning of the season, but I think now, coming down to the stretch, they really have a lot to show me for me to feel confident in their strengths. Baylor is just coming off that loss at Texas Tech, where Texas Tech really showed me a lot, but I feel at the same time that Baylor really needed to get a win like that for me to feel confident in them. And even playing at Kansas, I think they played a great game there, but weren't able to come away with a close game. Kansas absolutely has shown me that they're an elite team, and that's a team that I'm confident with putting my stamp of guarantee on it that they will have a good tournament run because of their ability to come back against West Virginia on Monday. I think the big thing coming down to in this game is the first half, and I think if Kansas gets out to a fast start and really starts to take control of this game, I think that they have the ability to put Baylor away, kind of demoralize them almost in a sense. And I really do like Kansas in this matchup.
So the score in the first game in Allen Fieldhouse was 73-68 Kansas. Baylor's holding their opponents to just 62 points on defense, and they're still shooting 47% on offense. So they seem like a complete team. The question is, and my question is, can they hold Kansas to 68 points again? Because I feel like if they can hold them to 68 to 73, if it's in that same area of score, I feel like Baylor might have the advantage here, being able to maybe perhaps shoot a higher clip at home.
Well, I think the thing with them, I think the thing that's going to benefit them, even though it might not seem like a benefit, is their loss at Texas Tech on Monday. I think that probably allowed them to come into practice throughout the week and allow them to really know what they've got to do against Kansas, and that's they've got to get a win. I feel like they've absolutely got to get a win against Kansas for them, not only for their resume, but for some confidence heading into the last 4 games of the season. And like you said, that 68 to 73 point range, I think that's a good start for where you think it might be at the end of the game. But this is going to take a complete effort from Baylor against Kansas throughout the entire game for them to come away with a win.
Yeah, Kansas only shot 41, both Baylor and Kansas shot 41% in that game. Baylor only 36% from 3-point range. I kind of wonder if, now that they're not in Allen Fieldhouse, if Baylor shoots at 47, 48%, and they can still play defense the way they've been playing defense all season, I like Baylor, but I don't think that'll happen. I think Kansas probably takes this one. I'm on the boat that any time that you get what you would consider a top 5 team in the nation and points, that you take that. So I like Kansas plus 1.5. As far as the over-under is concerned, I think Baylor plays good defense. Kansas plays is excellent offensively. I could see this one being around 75-75. I probably wouldn't bet the over-under on this game because that 143.5 number seems to be splitting exactly how I think the game will go. So I would probably not bet the over or the under on this game. I would pass on that one. Just take Kansas in the points and hopefully get out with a little money.
Right. I'm with Kansas at plus 1.5. I wouldn't even touch that over under really.
Yeah. So, all right. So the next game, Kentucky at Georgia. Kentucky is 7.5-point favorite. Georgia is the home dog. Over under at 149. These two teams played an overtime game in Rupp Arena, which we didn't know how that impressive that was until I watched the Tennessee game last Tuesday, and that made that overtime game in Rupp look very impressive by Georgia. They're both 15-10 against the spread. Kentucky has not had a good role with covering their spreads, only 13-9. Georgia 8-2 covering the spread as the underdog. Kentucky 21-5. They probably need no introduction. They might have 2 of the best 3 players in college basketball. And Georgia's 15-11. Kentucky's coming off 2 games, though, against similar opponents. Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, I would consider them very close in terms of how the teams are playing right now. Tennessee and Georgia just had a 1-point game a couple days ago. I think Alabama, Tennessee will have about a 1-point game when they play. So I wonder if Kentucky is not getting devalued based on how close they played Georgia the first time, when Georgia was playing decent and Kentucky was playing very poorly, had just lost to Tennessee, had just had some other close games. What do you think about this one, Christian?
Well, I like the matchup itself. I like the test it brings for Georgia to prove something, and I like that Kentucky has to go on the road and prove something and show that they're still playing at the high level that they played at against Tennessee on Tuesday, and against Alabama on Saturday. Like you said, with this Georgia matchup, I feel like they're coming in, and I feel like they're three similar teams: Alabama, Tennessee, and then Georgia. I feel like if you can come out with the win here for Kentucky, I think this is exactly what they want to show is that they can play at a high level against these three teams, which are what I would consider at the back end of the bubble of the tournament.
Yeah,
So
must win for Georgia. Must win for the tournament.
Must win. I would. I'm hesitant to ever say must win a lot of the time, especially with not knowing exactly what the tournament committee is looking for. But that's a whole other issue in and of itself.
Georgia 15-11 only has games against Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas left after this one. This might be the last place for them to make a statement for the tournament committee.
Right, and the thing about it is it's a home matchup. So for them to come in and get a win against Kentucky, it proves something, and I think that they'll definitely have the crowd on their side. This is gonna come down to what they're able to do in the first half. Largely what I said against the Baylor, Kansas. It's got to be close for Georgia in the first half. It was in their first matchup. It was tied at halftime. It went to overtime. And Kentucky was able to pull away at the end. They're going to need a big game from Frazier, I feel like, and I think he's got to play exceptionally well. It's just a difficult team to pull everything together from your team against them is Kentucky. They've got so much talent across the board with Bam Adebayo and Malik Monk, Isaiah Briscoe, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, just an absolute astounding amount of talent. So they definitely have this benefit of knowing the team that they're going against and playing at home, but I'm just not confident after seeing what Kentucky was able to do against Tennessee on Tuesday. I'm just not confident that Georgia would be able to really do anything in this game.
If you're starting a pickup team, who do you want, Fox or Monk? Who are you taking first?
I love De'Aaron Fox.
I agree with you. I think Monk's a great shooter, a great basketball player, but I think De'Aaron Fox is a little bit better facilitator of points. Points come off his hands, whether they're in the baskets or in somebody else's hands.
I think with De'Aaron Fox, you're just getting an absolute quality player. Not to say that Malik Monk is a chump or anything like that.
22 points a game right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, no. I just think with De'Aaron Fox, you're getting somebody who makes the right play, and it's somebody you really do trust with the ball in their hands when it's a close game. So I think that he's like you said, a facilitator, just an all-around point guard that you really, really want on your team.
Averaging 15, 5, and 5. A post player would take that.
Yeah,
he's a point guard.
Yeah, and doesn't shoot it all that bad, but he takes the right shots. He never forces anything.
Looks to pass first, shoot second. That's what you want in your guards.
Right.
Like I said, I think Kentucky, as far as the line's concerned, I think Kentucky's been a little devalued based on how they were playing, or based on their previous matchup with Georgia. But if you just look at how badly Kentucky was playing when they played Georgia the first time, they were just playing horrible. They had just lost to Tennessee. I think they had lost 2 out of their last 3 games at that point. De'Aaron Fox looked gimpy.
Lost 2 coming into that. Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox looked gimpy. He had a little bit of an ankle issue. Malik Monk looked a little bit disinterested. Isaiah Briscoe was trying to do more than he is capable of, and I think Calipari's got them on the right track now. In the game against Tennessee, Fox looked motivated. Malik Monk looked motivated. Briscoe looked like he wasn't just running circles with the basketball, doing crazy things, trying to make stuff happen. They looked like a basketball team for the first time, which is scary. I think they're being devalued. I think Kentucky plus 7 points is... or Kentucky minus 7 points is a great value. I think if that game would have went the the way of the Tennessee game like it probably should have, because Georgia and Tennessee are not all that different of teams. If that game would have went like it should have and Kentucky would have blown out Georgia by 20 or 25 points, I think you'd be looking at Kentucky minus 15 for this game. Just the fact that they kept it close the first time does not mean that they're going to keep it close the second time. So I'm taking Kentucky minus 7.5, and I'm also taking the under because I'm scared of how good their defense played against Tennessee.
Going with the trend of the name of this show, I'm going to take Georgia at the plus 7.5 because I needed to make a statement with something. So even though I do think Kentucky is capable of absolutely wiping the floor with Georgia, I'm just gonna go ahead and think that Georgia's gonna come out with something to prove on their home court, and I think it's gonna go like the first game. Let's just say that.
Backs against the wall for Georgia. We'll see if they can pull it off. So the next game, Villanova at Seton Hall. Villanova 25-2 and likely a number 1 seed, maybe an overall number 1 in the NCAA tournament. Seton Hall 16-9, 6-7 in conference battling. He's one of Joe Lunardi's first 4 in, or last 4 in, first 4 out. They're in that area. The line on this game, Villanova minus 6.5, over under 137. Villanova does not cover their spreads. They're 10-14 with 2 pushes, 10-13 as the favorite. Seton Hall 14-9 against the spread, and they're very good as the underdog. 6-4 as the underdog, 9-4 against the spread as the home team. Villanova only 4-7 against the spread on the road. Obviously, Villanova is the better basketball team. This one's at 12:30, very early in the morning. Does Villanova come out with enough energy at Seton Hall to keep this game a blowout?
I think that they have the ability to. I mean, Villanova is obviously one of the best teams in the nation. I mean, there's no disputing that. Just a quick look at their resume or their wins throughout the entire season showed the team that they are and who they can really beat, and they can beat quality teams. They've had a couple slip ups on the road and during Big East play, but I mean that's not to say or to be any determinant on who they're going to lose to. I think it's just difficult to even go to somebody's place and beat them, especially the teams that they lost to, like Butler and Marquette. Now the thing with Seton Hall is they've had an equally as impressive resume, not with the wins, but with who they've played. And I think that they have a quality team. I mean, they've beaten California, South Carolina this year. But during Big East play, they haven't really came together as a whole and gotten the wins they needed, which has put them as a team that's on the bubble. Now they're coming off a great win at home on Wednesday against Creighton, where I think the world of Creighton. I think that they're a great team. So for them to get that win really proved a lot to me, and I do like the makeup of the Seton Hall team. But once again, when you're going against a team like Villanova, one of the tops in the nation, and another team that I think very highly of, it's just going to be difficult to come into this game and really set yourself apart, especially considering that they lost by 30 in their first matchup. So Seton Hall's really got to try something different. They got to do something differently. Hopefully for them, the home crowd gets into it and they're able to really keep it close at least, so they can make it a game at the end. But I mean, I'm not betting against Villanova at this point. There's absolutely no way.
Villanova has to get on a bus tonight, travel 2 hours to Seton Hall to play a game at 12:30 a.m. They'll probably be at shoot around at 10 a.m. in a game that they probably won't be very motivated to play. And they're combine that with against the spread away at 4-7. They don't blow teams out on the road. They're only 10-14 overall in the season against the spread. I'm going to take Seton Hall with the points. I think Villanova wins the game. I think they do enough to win. I just don't know that they do enough. I just don't know that they'll care enough to win by more than 7 points.
I think with Villanova in this one, I think it's I'd take the Villanova at -6, and I just like that team. I just really do like that team. I think it's just a complete team.
I'm staying away from the over-under on this one. I don't particularly care betting over-unders on the early games. You never know how they could come out. They're a little sleepy. They're going to be, you just never know. So enough college basketball for now. We're actually going to go over and talk a little bit of NBA. We haven't really looked over this stuff all that much. I just thought this would be a fun segment to look at some of the NBA All-Star specials that are available to be bet on most of the betting sites and in most of the major casinos. So let's start off. I'm not a big NBA guy, but we're gonna get Christian's take on some of this stuff. So the first we have to start, let's get out of the futures here. The first thing we want to start with is the slam dunk contest, the nightcap. Last year, a fantastic outing, really brought back the dunk contest in a lot of people's mind. I think it was getting stale for a lot of people, and the competition last year really brought it back to being the event at the All-Star game that's not the All-Star game, the prime time show. Aaron Gordon put on a show last year. He is the favorite at -150. Derek Jones Jr. from the Suns, +110. Glenn Robinson III from the Pacers, +850. And DeAndre Jordan, which I think is weird value, +1,000. What do you think about that one, Christian?
I really like the 4 people they got for the dunk contest. I think for me personally, it's the dunk contest has kind of gotten stale. Even if the quality has gotten better over the years, or is getting back to what it was. It's just not something I particularly get all that enthused about anymore. The 3-point contest, though, that's a different story for me. But
that one's next, Christian. Let's not jump the gun.
Right. With the dunk contest, though, the person that I'm really looking at to that they've been hyping up for this is Derek Jones Jr. Now, just a rookie playing for the Suns. I liked him coming out of UNLV, and I think that he had the ability to show some things to teams, but I had to start off in the NBA D League for a little bit before coming into the season. He is a fabulous dunker, just an absolute a monster with his ability to fly in the air, and just a quick look at videos would looking into anything on YouTube would show you his quality. So I'm gonna go with thinking that Derek Jones Jr. is gonna win that one. I think Aaron Gordon will get to the finals with him, but I'm really looking for something from Derek Jones Jr.
What about a $1 bet on DeAndre Jordan to win 10?
I mean,
that's big odds for an established NBA player that has had several Sports Center top 10s in his career.
Right, and that's another athletic freak that I just can't wait to see what he has in store.
I think I'm going to put DeAndre on I might parlay this list for $1 and see what happens.
Right, and with Derek Jones, the only thing is I think the trend with dunk contests is the people that are just the high flyers, the ones that can really go up and get something, and I think he fits the mold of somebody that's it's a dunk champion.
The 3-point contest has no favorite or absolute favorite. Everyone is plus. Klay Thompson at +110, Kyrie Irving +400, C.J. McCollum +700, Kyle Lowry +900, Eric Gordon +900. Nick Young +900, Kemba Walker +1,200, and Wes Matthews +1,200. I see great value in Kemba Walker there.
Well, he does have value, but against the field that he's going against, I think that there's a lot of quality shooters that he'd have to beat, and Klay Thompson is the best of them all. I think in this field, I think Clay, Kyle Lowry, Kyrie Irving. Fourth for me, probably gonna go with CJ. But I really want to say Swaggy P. I want to say Nick Young so bad because he's actually shot it considerably well this year from three, and I want him to win. That'd just be amazing. For me though, I'm my favorite probably would be Kyrie, just because I think he wants to win that, and I think he has the ability to.
So moving on to the actual All-Star game, there's a lot of players we can pick here from, but give me two names for the 2017 NBA All-Star MVP.
Well, Russell Westbrook, because I feel like he's going to be the only one trying
Probably has a triple-double.
So hard. Yeah. And then second, Paul Millsap.
What about Giannis
Antetokounmpo, man.
Yeah, Antetokounmpo. Sorry, I couldn't get that right the first time. I really tried really hard.
The Greek Freak.
Yeah, the Greek Freak at plus 1,200. I think that's an interesting bet. It's had a good year.
Right.
Does any team score over 200 points?
That'd be fun to see. I really would.
Yes is plus 350 here. So 10 wins 35 on that. If either team scores over 200.
I wouldn't say that they will. I mean, I think that's just, you really actually have to be trying at that point. I know it's just people that just going down and
maybe
shooting.
LeBron will just hang out in the backcourt like that one kid from California, and they'll just get the rebound and throw it to him, and he'll lay it up.
Oh, yeah, you mean, what's it, Lonzo Ball's brother?
Yeah, his brother.
LaMelo.
Yeah, LaMelo. Maybe he'll just hang out in the backcourt like LaMelo and just, get that pad, lay it up, and then just keep doing that over and over. And
seem to work for him.
Yeah, that's how you score 200 if you want to know, LeBron. Just saying. All right, so let's move back over to a little bit of college basketball. We'll come back for a little golf and maybe a little NASCAR after a few more college basketball games. Got a big set on Saturday. Hard to get to them all. So the next game we want to talk about is Michigan State at Purdue. Michigan State 16-10, coming off a 2-win streak. Purdue coming off 4 straight wins at 21-5. Purdue covers their spreads generally 16-8-1 against the spread, 16-6 as the favorite. Against the spread, Michigan State just 14-10, 4-5 as the underdog. Purdue also covers their spreads at home 11-4. This game's at 4 o'clock on ESPN. Christian, Purdue Purdue the favorite by 9 points.
All right, I think with this game, I think Michigan State obviously is coming in knowing they need to do something in this game. I think they're at the point where they have to really get a win like this at Purdue or versus Wisconsin in the next week. That really puts something else on their resume to get in the tournament. Coming off of wins against Iowa and Ohio State, I think that they looked good, but I think those are two teams that aren't particularly teams that absolutely really tested them to the point where that Purdue is going to test them, especially with being at Purdue. Now, Purdue is coming off those four wins versus Northwestern, at Maryland, at Indiana. Just some quality wins and playing like the quality team that they are, and really trying to prove something as well to the committee in the last little stretch of the season. I think with Purdue, I don't think there's really any cause for concern in this line. I think Purdue will handle Michigan State easily. I just think that they're the better team. Caleb Swanigan will obviously get another double-double, and I think that's the big thing. I think that it's going to be really hard for them to stop him, and Vince Edwards as well. I think he'll have a good game. I think that there's no real a cause for concern against the spread here. I think Purdue covers this.
Michigan State lost to Michigan 86-57. Purdue covers their spreads. Purdue +9 or Purdue -9 is probably what I would consider an absolute lock.
On the over/under, though, I mean, I actually would take that, the 140.5. I would take the over on that.
Purdue averaging 81 a game, Michigan State 71 a game, both allowing 67 points. So the next two games, we're going to talk about some smaller conferences where we see some value and or are intrigued by the matchup. The first one is Rhode Island at George Mason from the Atlantic 10 Conference. Rhode Island has proven to be a pretty good team all year long. They've kind of hit a little slide lately with a 1-point loss at Dayton, or versus Dayton at home, and then a 10-point loss against a not a very good Fordham team, where they only put up 43 points. Other than that, they've been strong on the season. George Mason, on the other hand, 18-8, has been strong all season, but doesn't have a marquee win. They beat the same Fordham team 2 days before Rhode Island by about 7 points. This game's at George Mason. It should be a great game. Rhode Island is 15-9 against the spread, 10-8 as the favorite. George Mason 13-11 against the spread, 8-3 as the underdog. This is why we see some value. Both teams have good value against the spread. Both teams are, we think, good mid-major teams, specifically Rhode Island. And for that reason, they are the 3-point favorite at George Mason. What do you think about this one, Christian?
I think it's, like you said, a great matchup. There's two mid-major teams that really have a lot to prove. I think, especially with Rhode Island, they have a lot to prove with coming off a loss versus Fordham on Wednesday, where I actually had seen the press conference after that from their head coach Dan Hurley, and he just looked dejected, absolutely astonished that they had lost that game, or completely putting the blame on himself. So, that loss really hurt them. As far as chances to get into the tournament, even as an at-large. But I think just as a team, I think that really hurt them. I think that this game is going to be a real test. It could be a real struggle for them, or it could also be an opportunity for them to really come in and make the most of that opportunity and get a signature win. Well, not so much a signature win, but a confidence boosting win going into the last 4 games of the season for them.
Both teams 8-5 in conference. I tell you what, I like Rhode Island, but I like the home underdog. I'm going to take George Mason plus 3 points. They're 8-3 against the spread as the underdog. I'm going to take them plus 3 points against a Rhode Island team that I'm not sure is still all there, or still as good as they were, let's say, 3 weeks ago.
Right, and it's hard for me to even get on the train of Rhode Island, but I'm just going to go with the trend of the show, still some more, and just go with Rhode Island at -3. I think they have a lot to prove to themselves, and I think that Dan Hurley will get them ready for this game, and they'll be able to pull out a win at George Mason and be able to cover the spread at -3.
Second game on our mid-major swing, an extremely intriguing matchup, which was the Southern Conference Championship game last year, and they've played a close 3-point or 4-point game already this season. East Tennessee State at Chattanooga, an intrastate battle, only about 2 hours away from each other. Pretty fierce, probably as fierce of rivals that exist in mid-major conferences. ETSU won the first matchup. Chattanooga is a 3-point favorite on their home court. These teams can score some points. ETSU puts up 81 a game, Chattanooga 76. Both play similar defense, around 69 points allowed a game. ETSU shooting nearly 50% as a team. They have a lot of big players, big transfer players from formerly major schools. They really have an inside presence, and I think Chattanooga has one of the best players that you've never heard of in Trey McClain. What do you think about this one, Christian? Interstate matchup.
Well, this is a phenomenal matchup. I like both of these teams very much. I think the Southern Conference as a whole, at the top end, is a great conference, and like I said, at the top of this conference are some quality teams that I don't think many people have watched this year. That if you ever get the opportunity to, ETSU, Chattanooga, UNC Greensboro, Furman. Just some great teams. I think I really appreciate watching these teams play. But back to this matchup, especially, this is going to be another hard matchup for both of these teams. I think that Chattanooga knows that they have to come in this matchup, and I think that they have to get a win. I think that ETSU also knows that Chattanooga is going to come out guns blazing, if you will, and just really try to take it to them. And I think that they both understand the quality of game that this is going to be, and what they need to do, and what they both need to bring to the table. And I think that they both understand it to the point where it's going to be a great game, like the first game was.
Great players in this matchup for a mid-major squad. These are highly ranked mid-major teams. They're College Insiders post a mid-major poll. These teams have consistently both been within the top 10 all season, and that's with the likes of Gonzaga, Wichita State taking up the first 2 or 3 spots. Great players in this game: Cromer, McLean, Glass, Bradford. These definitely will be probably stars in Europe, but you could see one of these guys, particularly McLean, maybe Bradford, maybe Cromer, making a professional or D-League roster in the States at some point.
I think that these players are great players, and I think that they all have the ability to play professionally, as in even in the NBA. I think with Justin Tui and Cromer, McLean, my personal favorite, DeJounte Bradford. I think that they all have a great quality, and I think that this is just an A-plus matchup as far as mid-major teams are concerned. If you're looking for real value to watch two teams and players that you might not have heard of, that you really will be impressed by. I like for as far as the line, though, I think it's at -2.5 at Chattanooga. I'm going to take ETSU in this one at the over, or at the plus, because I think that they're going to know what to bring to the table, and I really do like them in this matchup.
I'm solidly on the over in this game. These two teams, when they play each other, like to score points. 143 seems low to me as somebody that keeps up with this particular team, because in the nature of full discretion, I'm an ETSU graduate, so I keep up with these two teams a lot throughout the season, and I really I'm not going to pick the game. I think it's probably a 2-point game either way, but I'm solidly on the over. I would imagine that this one would probably end up in around the 160 range. So I think Vegas has that a little low at 143, taking the over on that one. So the next game, Texas Tech at West Virginia. Texas Tech 17-9 and just knocked off a Baylor team at home. West Virginia just suffered one of the worst collapses I've seen since the Super Bowl. And
it wasn't pretty.
I was on West Virginia just to tell you how bad my luck is, and one of the reasons that we actually wanted to start this is I had mentioned it, and then me and Christian watched that game together. I was on West Virginia. You can go to my Twitter feed and see how this kind of played out live. I sent Christian a message that said, I'm really, with 3 minutes left in the game, I'm really liking this West Virginia bet +5. I think I had them.
I think they're up 14 with 3 minutes left, and you had said that I'm really liking this bet.
Yeah, that's when the decline began, and we got into a point where I was like, well, the only way I could lose this game is if it goes into overtime. Sure enough, here he goes into overtime. Kansas gets out in overtime. They're 8 points ahead, and I'm just sitting scratching my head like, well, how did this happen? In about 25 minutes real time, I went from I'm definitely winning this to, oh my Lord, I'm not gonna win this. Ended up covering the spread by 1 point, but Regardless, West Virginia 20-6, Texas Tech 17-9. West Virginia is normally very good against the spread, 17-8, 15-7 is the favorite, 13-4 against the spread at home. Texas Tech also decent against the spread, 14-11, as 6-3 is the underdog and 3-4 against the spread away. Once again, similar teams here. West Virginia just scores a few more points. What do you think about this one, Christian?
I think West Virginia is a great team. And I say that loosely now. I was pretty confident going into the Kansas matchup, saying that, and I was pretty confident and to where you had messaged me about the type of team West Virginia was.
Do you think that had more to do with me having terrible luck or West Virginia not being a good basketball team?
Well, I'm gonna say it's a little bit of both, I guess. At this point, I think the West Virginia obviously let one slip through their hands, but I mean, you can't look at that. You can't look at that and feel all that confident about that West Virginia team now. Thankfully, they now get they've 5 games before this game against Texas Tech, and by the way, Texas Tech, a team that it's coming off of a big home win against Baylor on Monday. So I think that West Virginia knows that they can't look at this game as something to take any lightly. I think that Texas Tech has a quality team, and now that they have a quality win against somebody like Baylor, I think that they have the momentum to go into this game and try and keep it close.
West Virginia lost to Oklahoma State on their home floor by 7 points just 14 days ago. Right. Texas Tech coming in off a great win over what is considered at least one of the top 10 teams in the nation right now. West Virginia is minus 11.5. I feel like that's too big. So I'd take West Virginia in the game. I'm taking Texas Tech on the spread.
I think with me, I think that I do like Texas Tech, and I now because of that win against Baylor. But I look at their schedule and I see that during Big 12 play they haven't really gotten any wins away from home. So I think that West Virginia doesn't really have, in my opinion, I don't think that they have nothing to really worry about as far as win. Just as far as the spread is concerned, I think that the minus 11.5 is quite big, and I'm hesitant to take that. But I think that West Virginia really has to show something, and I think Bob Huggins is really going to get them ready for this game. I think that practice has probably been brutal for them in the lead up to this game.
I'd say there's been a little bit of running.
I'm sure of that. I think that West Virginia covers this spread against Texas Tech.
So let's shift gears now. We want to talk about two sports that are similar in some ways and not so similar in others: golf and NASCAR. They're similar in the betting sense that you have to pick one out of a field and hope to get lucky. But the Genesis Open is currently going on, what used to be the Los Angeles Open at Riviera. They've had some rain delays, so we're in the middle of the second round. But I still think that my philosophy with golf betting is that you want to get in about this time because you kind of figure out who's going to play good, who's at the top of the leaderboard, and you get about the same odds in the second round as you would the fourth. So the favorite is Dustin Johnson at plus 225, and then Jordan Spieth at plus 600. They're both 5 under at this point. Good value there for Jordan Spieth. He just won last week. I could see him winning again. Jonathan Vegas is currently in the lead, and he's a guy that either he shoots a lot of low first rounds, doesn't hold on to him that much, but I feel like when he's leading in the second round, that's when I start to notice him. That's when I start to say, okay, maybe he's got a shot to win. Guy's really long, he can go low. I really like Jonathan Vegas at plus 1,600. It's $160 on a $10 bet for the guy that's in the lead. Plus, it's wet at Riviera. It's a long course. I could see somebody like that, like him winning, especially coming from the front. Other guys that have pretty good value at this stage in the game. Jason Day plus 3,500 anytime you can get one of the number one players in the world at that. Maybe he makes a little bit of run. As far as I'd say Justin Thomas at plus 8,000. That's a pretty good bet. I think he's 2 under at this point. Only 4 back. I think that's good value there. Turning to NASCAR, Christian.
We have the NASCAR season finally upon us with the Advanced Auto Parts Clash tomorrow. I am a big NASCAR fan, as Jaxon will attest to, that I am super excited to finally be watching it again. But apart from that, they do have the race tomorrow. It's just an exhibition-style race with 17 drivers in it. Going back to the original name that they came out with, the Clash, the odds as of now for this race are Brad Keselowski at 9-2, Joey Logano at 13-2, Jimmy Johnson 7-1, Kyle Busch 8-1, Denny Hamlin 8-1. I think that's where I'm just going to stop. I'm not even going to read the 17 because I think that we already know, or for me, I already know the real quality bets, and that's going to be Denny Hamlin at 8-1. As Denny Hamlin also won this race last year. He's won it, I believe, 3 times now. I could be wrong on that, and he's coming off a Daytona 500 win from last year. So I think that it's a good quality bet. Martin Truex Jr. also at 10-1. That's not a bad bet as well. My long shot, but I'm really anxious to see how he does in this race is Daniel Suarez coming off that Xfinity Series championship last year. He's at 20-1. It will be nice to see how he transitions to the now NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series,
which sounds stupid.
It's grown on me, but it's.
Listen, the only people that should be able to sponsor a NASCAR race are a cigarette company or a beer company.
I like the direction they're trying to take. I like it though. Another bet for that race would be Alex Bowman at 20-1. I like the crew. He's filling in for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of gave this to him as Alex Bowman was able to get a pole last year while Dale Earnhardt Jr. was recovering from his concussion. He's at 20-1. Had some great races there towards the end of the team, and of course this is a super speedway, so anything can happen. I like that bet as well.
Just for the point of reference, didn't this race used to be called the Bud Shootout?
It did, yes.
Exactly. Beer companies and cigarette companies should be the only ones allowed to sponsor NASCAR.
It started off as the Clash, so they're going back to that name.
Oh, it was the Clash like before I was born. It was like the Clash then. Yeah, and then it was the Bud Shootout.
Yeah, it was Bud Shootout.
When I was a NASCAR fan for a moment in time, it was the Bud Shootout. So the Clash. Okay. So we're going to do 2 more basketball games that we feel like there's some pretty good value in. That I personally don't understand the line on the first one at all, but we think that there's good value in the South Carolina Vanderbilt game, 8:30 on SEC Network. South Carolina's 20-6, considered one of the best 3 teams in the SEC and almost a surefire tournament team at this point. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, 13-13, and they just lost to Missouri. By 14 points. No, by 20 points. They're bad. Vanderbilt is a bad basketball team. They're not good at basketball. Vanderbilt's 14-9 against the spread, partially because they always have a lot of points. South Carolina just 12-10 against the spread. 7-9 is the favorite. But the line on this game is South Carolina -2. I mean, South Carolina is a 2-point favorite on the road at Vanderbilt. And may I remind you, Vanderbilt is bad. They are not a good basketball team. South Carolina is a good basketball team. Give me South Carolina -2. Yeah, that's fine. Vanderbilt could have 10 in this game. They're not going to sniff it. They're not going to sniff it.
I really don't know where I want to go with this game. It's difficult to even look at it and for me to comprehend to see what I think is going to happen. I mean, only because South Carolina is coming off that loss to Arkansas where I think Arkansas had a lot to prove, and they definitely did with that win. I just don't know where their head's at going into this Vanderbilt matchup. And with Vanderbilt, they're just now coming off of a win against Texas A&M at home. So I think that you can look at it so many different ways. You can say, well, Vanderbilt just absolutely got
annihilated by Missouri.
Yeah. Or you can look at it as, hey, this Vanderbilt team
let's talk about some of the teams Missouri has lost to this season. North Carolina Central, Davidson, Eastern Illinois, Lipscomb, which is in the same town and has like 4,000 students. They play in like the Atlantic Sun Conference. They play in an arena that's probably a tenth of the size of Vanderbilt. They're from the same town. They can't even beat, it's like they're playing the other high school. Like they're playing I can't even imagine that the dynamic of losing to Lipscomb as Vanderbilt. They've also lost to LSU. They've also lost to so many terrible teams. Missouri is terrible, awful, and they're beating Vanderbilt. A team that that Lipscomb beat Vanderbilt. That's awful. They're not a good basketball team, and I think you could give them 10. I'd literally be willing to give you Vanderbilt and 10 points.
I think with Vanderbilt, I think it's just with any resume or just with any team schedule with basketball, it's hard to be that team that you are throughout as many games as you have throughout the season. And I think that that's just an outlier. I think everybody has an outlier in their games, and I think that that's just one of them. Sometimes you can't get it rolling. Sometimes you're just not doing something right. Just what have you. It's difficult to get it going, and I think
you and the first 3 people that listen to this podcast can beat Missouri.
I think that but like I said, I think it was just an anomaly for Vanderbilt. I'm gonna go against the grain here. I'm gonna say that that was an anomaly, an outlier, and I think that I would take Vanderbilt in this.
Vanderbilt plus 2? Oh no! Mm-hmm. Oh no! That's dumb. All right, Florida State at Pitt. So Florida State is 21-5 on the season. Pitt 14-12, just 3-10 in conference. Florida State against the spread 17-8. Pitt not good against the spread, 9-15, 6-5 is the underdog, and only 4-12 against the spread at home. Florida State, I think, is one of the better teams in the nation, and I think they're a little bit under the radar. They play in a really stacked ACC conference, as you well know, and I really like Florida State. I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna do well in the tournament, better than people expect. I would not want to be in the same pod as Florida State because they're gonna be underranked. I don't want to be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed in Florida State's pod. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. Florida State's got size. They're shooting, almost 50% on the season, scoring 85 points a game. Florida State just a 5.5 point favorite.
They also don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, they really don't. 5.5 point favorite. Who you got in this one?
I like Florida State in the game itself. The only thing with this game, I think that, like you said, this is a stacked ACC conference, and I've watched Pittsburgh throughout the year, and Pittsburgh is a good team, contrary to what their record might look like. I mean, just a quick glance at their games they played will tell you that they have a good team, but it's just the ability to go out there and show that on an everyday basis or an every game basis for them. They weren't able to close out Virginia Tech when they had the lead for most of that game. Went to halftime. We're up by I believe 11, and we're up by 8 with 10 to go. Weren't able to close that game out and lost that game. But that's still the point aside from that is that I still think that Pittsburgh is a good team, and I think that they have quality players. I don't know really what to expect from this game from both teams. Florida State also just coming off of last week a loss at Notre Dame where they didn't look good, particularly good throughout the entire game. And their 4 losses within the ACC have all been away from home. So also with a loss by 22 at Georgia Tech is included in that. So I can look at that and kind of deduct that I think this is going to be closer than what most people think. I think Florida State's going to edge them out, but I like Pittsburgh at plus 5.5 on that game.
I actually probably like Florida State minus 5.5, but this is probably the least confident that I've felt talking about any of the games that we've talked about. So I'm at Florida State minus 5.5. I'm going to parlay all of our bets in the morning. Unfortunately, they're not, on the sites and in the casinos quite yet. But we're going to parlay all these bets in the morning, and if we win them all, I will probably not be doing this podcast anymore. But as for us, that's going to be all. It's 10 basketball games, some NBA stuff, and some NASCAR and golf-based things. All right, guys, that's it for us. I advise you to make like the show title and go bet against me. I'm Jaxon.
This is Christian.
We've had a great time. Hopefully all of our bets hit and we make a bunch of money. But if history repeats itself, that will not be the case. As for us, we'll be back on Monday night to discuss the Tuesday slate of games. So until then...